I'd appreciate that you do like they do in sports. 5 minutes left.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My wife, Audrey, and I, we are very happy to be here with you and to share in this worship of God this morning. This part of the country is very beautiful. I'm not quite sure what year, but I was here years ago, probably around 98 or 99, was maybe a day and a half or something. I came down to visit an older brother that was in the area, and we just took a real quick drive through this area. But that's been a long time. I believe it was probably around 98. So that's been a very long time. But I'm going to leave it up to you all to decide if things have gotten better or worse since then, because I don't know. But I've seen quite a bit since the time that we have been here. It is wonderful to meet Tyler. It's his dad and I, in the early 70s, we used to I tried to run track. His dad was a real track man. And his dad and another gentleman there at the time, they were doing all the meets and everything. And then the rest of us, we were like backup runners. But it was a great time being in Conway, Arkansas back then at that time, and hanging out and doing the great things that we do. So if you want to know some stories about Conway, ask me. You don't have to listen to him all the time. I can tell you some things about that area as well. I'm going to ask that you open your Bibles to Acts chapter 15 and verse 36. I was talking to Brother Freeman a few moments ago because I was thinking it was he that came to Philadelphia. I guess it was about the year, 99, 2000. As you all can see, we can't remember things too well. But he was there on business, and I think he was there for about a week, and I got a chance to spend some time with him. And I was asking him about the work down here. And at the same time, I was trying to get some support because I had lost some. So I was asking him, and by the way, you all weren't meeting here. It was somewhere else, wherever that was. But I was asking him, I said, well, what about the congregation where you're at? Is there money? Are you taking men on and stuff? So he said he would look into it. And that's how my connection with this church began, all right? So it's from there on up to now. So I appreciate you, brethren, for taking an interest in what we've tried to do up there. I really wish I could come down here and tell you that there are 3,000 souls have obeyed the gospel since that time, but I can't tell you that. But anyway, we've did our best, and there is a church up there. But I want you to turn with me to Acts chapter 15, and let's look at verse 36. And I just want to spend a little time talking about what we have tried to do up there. And I'm pretty sure you will be able to relate to some of the things that we have tried to do compared to what you're doing here. In verse 36, it says, and some days after, Paul said to Barnabas, let us go again and visit our brethren in every city where we have preached the word of God and see how they do. See how they do. See what's going on. Find out any help we can give them, or if there's any help they can give us, or whatever. Let's just stay in communication. And when you all said that you want to try to get men that you support to come down, I thought that was a great idea. I would say, I would take it a little higher than that. And I've often told churches this, that when you support men in different places, if your finances permit, all right, I want to throw that out there first. All of us take vacation and things like that. We go places. I just like to try to encourage churches If you're making vacation plans and you know there are some men preaching in North Carolina, or you know there's some men preaching in New York or Vermont, just vacation up there. Go up, visit with the brethren, see how they're doing. That way you can get firsthand view of what is going on. So I'd like to tell you all that as well, as you plot your vacation and travels in the future. If your finances permit you to do so, I'd like to try to encourage you to come on around. There's a lot of tourist activities up there. You won't have any shortage of that. And, you can meet the church and see where we're at and all that good stuff. So I would encourage this congregation to consider that. I want to start off very quickly with just a little personal history. As I've told you, I am originally from Conway, Arkansas. Born and raised there. My father was a military man. He met my mother in Oklahoma, and they became a couple. He was originally from Delaware. So we spent several years going back and forth between Arkansas and up there and things like that. In about the year 63, I believe it was during the year that President Kennedy was shot. My mother and father sort of went their separate ways. I do remember that. And she decided to take the 6 children. I am number 2 in a total of 6. I just lost an older brother in January of this year. So now I'm the oldest. But there were 2 sisters and 4 guys. So I have 1 brother in Los Angeles, and the rest are back there in Conway. But at that time, we all packed up, mother and the rest of us, and we left. And he was left up there in the Philadelphia area. I came down here. I obeyed the gospel down here in Conway. Okay? And Tyler, you might want to ask your father. Harrison and Willow Church of Christ was around at that time. And that's where I obeyed the gospel at that time. Stayed there for a while. Then there was a new work that opened up, and I was able to get into the training program that they had, and there was another work that opened up in Marche. And when I graduated from high school in 1975, I became the preacher there in Marche. So I was there in Marche from the summer of 75 all the way up to the fall of 1978, when I decided then to go to Miami. And I left Conway in September of 1978 and went to Miami. And I was down there with the Miami Shores congregation, which has recently closed as a few years ago. And in the summer of, the spring, and I'm trying to put these dates together as best as I can. In the spring of April 1984, I decided that I wanted to go to Philadelphia. And the reason why I wanted to go to Philadelphia is because there was no, quote, in parentheses, conservative church inside the city limits of Philadelphia. There wasn't one. And if you are familiar with the northeastern part of the country, that's very prevalent. There are some states up there that might only have 1 church, 2 churches. You look at New Hampshire or Vermont, and I'm talking about recommendations, okay, that you could recommend. I know at that time, Delaware didn't even have a church at that time that could be recommended. It has since changed, and there's one there now, just one. But that's how it is up there. So it was basically like a wasteland. So I was able to get some support. Brethren from Florida and other places, they thought it was a great thing. And here you had this crazy fella, 27 years old, from Arkansas. He's going to go to Philadelphia and try to start a work from scratch, from zero. So I went up there, I talked to brethren and things like that. I met some nice guys in Piscataway, New Jersey, which was the closest church at that time. And they were single guys, and they were very open to the idea. And they said, well, we're going to come down and help you. And this was in the Piscataway church. In that same church, my wife there was a member. So she said, I'll come down as well. So the three of them would come down every weekend, and we would go over the area and try to see what we could do to get people interested in what we were trying to do. And we were using a little room in the YMCA. Okay, all of this is from April, so I'm talking April 84 to December 84, okay? So we had rented a little room, and that's what we're going to use. Started some advertisement, and at that time, here's something that was very interesting. My father, you know, he had been left in Philadelphia since we left in 63. And he saw what I was doing. He respected it. But he was not a church-going man. You know, he let that be known in the beginning. He says, look, I think you're doing a great thing. It is not for me, but he says, you don't know Philadelphia. And I don't want you to come up here and get severely discouraged in what you're trying to do, because it's a good thing. He says, I have some friends. He says, they don't do anything on Sunday mornings. They respect me. I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to have them show up at your services for X amount of time, so that when you go there, you'll have some people there. And he was true to his word. And of course, when they came in, I wanted to teach them, so I did the best I could. But yeah, they would come, and it was about 4 of them. So they would come. And they supported me in this, and then the brethren from New Jersey. And then this couple saw my advertisement, a man and a woman. And this had to be around July of that very same year of 84. So she brought her husband. I was able to study with them, and within 3 weeks, they wanted to be baptized. July 84, all of this decided in April, concluding to the end of that same year. So they were baptized. And then she told me, look, she says, I know other people. There's a lady I know that is a Seventh-day Adventist. She's tired of the Seventh-day Adventist church. She's tired of it. And she wants to get out of it. So I said, well, let's study with her. So she arranged that, and we studied with this lady. And this was probably around late August of that year. And then also, about the same period of time, probably within 2 or 3 weeks, she obeyed the gospel. And you know what, brethren? I was jumping like nobody's business. I really was. Because I didn't think it was going to happen that way. Here I got my father bringing guys off the street in there. I got the 2 brethren from New Jersey. Audrey is there. And then I did these 3 baptisms. And I'm saying to myself, I said, wow, we didn't do that in Miami, you know. But anyway, I was feeling awfully good. And, of course, I was thanking God for it at the same time. And I think we had one more baptism at the end of the year. So when that year ended, there were about 4 baptisms. And the church began to go from there. Had 4 people. The brethren from New Jersey, they began to cut back some because they had duties there in New Jersey. Audrey stayed on. And we were able to just get the ball rolling using that little room in the YMCA. The men that my father had coming, a few of them hung around for a while, but then evidently they understood their reason there, and they just left themselves. Because he said, when you get going, I'm going to tell them, this is my father talking to them, I'm going to tell them, look, you can stay and be a member of his church, or you can just go your way, but I don't want my boy up here being embarrassed. That's what he said. So, true to their word, they did that. I've never heard anything like that before in my life. But that's how this started. Just like that. So, we take off and we go from there. Now, here we are in 2024. I guess Audrey to be thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. I would think if we could count up the baptisms that we have had between 84 on up to now, it would probably be maybe 35, maybe pushing close to 40. Maybe that's what it would be. That's what I would think, okay? But once again, unfortunately, you can have your baptisms, but that does not mean that you're going to keep them. And as you know, the old scenario, go back out into the world, move to a new city, just whatever. You know, things happen. Things happen. And that's what has happened to us now. So currently, on a Sunday morning, like today, we can have like anywhere between, on a regular basis, maybe early 20s. But that's not our best number. We were better than that. Before the pandemic, we were doing a little better than that. And we're no longer in the YMCA. We have our own storefront now. So we have really graduated from a small room in the YMCA to a storefront on a main city street. But that's not our best. The only catching thing about where we're meeting now is that if you put about, and I'm looking at all of you here now, you wouldn't fit in that place. If we get about 30 people in there, we're pretty much maxing ourselves out. So if we're going to continue to use that place, about 30 people is going to be it. That's about it. We do have a couple of classrooms in the back, and bathroom and an outer court in the back. But, you know, where people would sit in an auditorium, that's about all you're going to get in there. So we would have to graduate to a better meeting place and things like that. But anyway, that's just trying to climb the ladder, and you got nothing to climb with. A lot of churches start because a large percentage of people will leave a church, a large percentage. And then you don't have to scratch and claw like I did. Because when you leave, you already got like 30 or 40 people going with it. But see, I didn't have that. So we had to scratch and claw. But anyway, around low 20s right now, hoping one day that improves. And then midweek, as every church has the same story, you have to cut that in half. Okay? Now, the people that I have there now, they got some weird schedules. And sometimes their schedules call them. And you know, it just, like you do here, you know what I'm talking about. It calls them, and they have to be gone and stuff like that. But that's just the way that it is. But I would say that would be the typical appearance of your average church on the East Coast. That's typical. You go someplace up there, you find there's only 20, 30, maybe 50 of people meeting. But the biggest majority of them are going to be like 20-something people. Philadelphia, if you can picture it on your map, if you can picture Philadelphia, we're in the northwest corner of the city, okay? We're in Philadelphia proper, because that's what the goal was, to set it up in Philadelphia proper. On the outskirts of Philadelphia, there was a suburban area called Upper Darby. And about 5 years ago, some young men decided that they wanted to go to Upper Darby and start a work over there. Now that work is still around, okay? And I think that they call themselves the Western Philadelphia Church of Christ. I welcome them, okay? The more help, the better. But they're about 5, maybe, I don't think they're over 6 years old. I don't think they are. But they didn't start the way I started. There were a group of them that came in. So I would think, if my stats are right, they're probably about the same as us, maybe 20-something people or whatever you want to call it. But they're there. They're up there. You leave that, and you go westward in PA, maybe another 45 miles out from Philadelphia. I mean, not like here in San Antonio and all your city here. You got to go out about 30-something miles. There's a city out there called Exton. All right? There's another church meeting out there. So I'm talking about churches that I could recommend. You leave that area, and then you go further west, working your way towards Harrisburg. And you go to a little town about maybe 30 miles south of Harrisburg on the Susquehanna River. There's another little church in that town, Marietta, and they're there. And they're also about maybe 20-something people. A good thing about that church, a very good thing, is that when they were doing better, because all these churches have had their decline, when they were doing better, they used their money and they bought a building. They did that. They bought a building. They jumped right on it then, and that was smart. So they're out there now. It's a decent building. It's a decent building. They have the capacity to put maybe, 40, 45 people in there. And the property was pretty cheap because it's out a ways. You know, it's not close to Harrisburg, it's not close to Philadelphia or York or any of those other places up there. So they were blessed to get that property. So they have that. And they're out there in Marietta, PA. So you can Google all these churches that I'm telling you. About 3 years ago, I understand, and I have never been there, I understand that there was a group of Christians that left the Gettysburg Church, okay, which is further west. You go across the Susquehanna River, and you're going way back on the lower end of PA in the western part of the state. They left Gettysburg, and they started a work in Harrisburg, because once again, there was no church there. So some of the Christians from Gettysburg did that travel up there. I'm not quite sure how many they have going there, but that's what they have going there. We're going to end this map thing, and then I'm going to go to something else. Now, let's come back over. Okay? Come back over north of Philadelphia now. Allentown, Bethlehem. Okay? Allentown, Bethlehem is like maybe 70 miles north of Philadelphia. There's a church up there that is meeting in someone's home. And the garage, you know, where you drive your car in, the garage, is their meeting location. And they install a baptistry pool inside the garage. So if you go up there, you'd be meeting folding chairs in a garage. I don't know how they pull this off with zoning. I don't know how that happened, but they got it done. And it's just a regular neighborhood, just a regular neighborhood street. And I think that I was talking to someone back over the summer. I think they're probably around 15 or something like that. So there's a church in Bethlehem, okay? After that, that's about it for southeastern PA. Now, it's not like you can just go down 3 blocks and there's another church. I'm telling you all of this so you'll know that you can find brethren up there, but you got to put forth some driving time to get out there and find them. They're not all close together. So that's why I wanted you to have some knowledge of that makeup, the area, and things like that. So that's what you have in PA. And then you'd see the same thing if you go across the Delaware River into New Jersey. You'd see the same thing over there. When you get closer to New York, it might change a little bit, but they're all small and struggling. So that's how it is up there in that part of the country. So I would just say that the phrase, and I don't mean it 100% the way people use it, but the phrase "when in Rome." So when you go to the East Coast, you need to know what you're getting into. It is what it is, you know. And a lot of people in the past have had a problem. I've had people move up there. They've come from states where the church is very rich, and they have come up there because of a job. I've had people decide that they don't want to stay because it's not like it was where they grew up. And they leave and they go back to wherever it is that they came from. So that's just how it is. So you have to be aware of that. So us in the congregation where we are, we try to make it a real priority to advertise. Number one, for the most part, people are not interested in the church anyway, for the most part. The number one thing that I run into when it comes to evangelism is that people make it clear to me that they respect what we do, but they're just not into it. Okay? They're just not into it. So apathy is a major roadblock. What I have found in our attempts to evangelize is that there is really no magic wand or no magic technique that you can use to get people to obey the gospel. There really isn't. But what I have found that has worked is that when a person gets into some type of situation, and as I look back over the conversions, a large percentage of them came this way. They get into some type of situation, and they're on their back, and they're looking around, and they need help, and they expect someone to say or do something. I found that that's been the most effective way, because now you got their attention. Something has them, and you have a chance to do something about that. Now, we had a baptism about maybe 7 weeks ago, 6 or 7 weeks ago. And it's a good thing that my wife was around to pick this one up. And then we were able to go from there. There was a lady that fell into that same situation. So Audrey was able to get the situation set up, and she was receptive. And she obeyed the gospel. So she is in her infant stage right now. The problem that knocked her down is still with her, though. Still with her. We're praying that the Lord would do something about that so it won't be around anymore. But it's still there. I hope that this will not put an expiration date on her. I hate to say that about some folks, but some folks just got an expiration date. You baptize them, and for whatever reason, they stay for a while, and then when they see that whatever it was that they were hoping for doesn't happen, they're gone. And there's been some foolish situations down through the years that people expected. I'm thinking about this one case, and these were two sisters. We baptized them. We baptized them because they were having a hard time paying their bills. All right? That was it. So we had to talk to them about things like that and personal responsibility and just trying to, balance everything out. And they thought it was good information. But after a while, when their problems still lingered with them, they just decided that this church and the instruction are just not helping us any, so why even stay? So that's what their expiration date was. So I'm just saying a lot of people come with expiration dates. And I'm pretty sure you've seen that even here in your area. But what we're doing now is we continue to push it. I use the Jehovah's Witnesses as an example often. The Jehovah's Witnesses are the best advertisers of what they believe. They're always out there. I don't know of any church that can beat them when it comes walking the streets. They're the best in the world. And when I run into them, I let them know that. I admire your work ethic. You're certainly the best. But then I tell them your doctrine is just wrong. But that's, you can't take that from them. They are the best in the world. So we want to try to do that ourselves. So I encourage the people to always look for opportunities. You don't have to have a Bible class with somebody every Thursday night at 7 o'clock for 8 weeks. You don't have to do that. You can, and we hope we see that. But there are other ways you might be able to reach people. If you are in a place and you see that people are searching for some type of answer and they need somebody to say or do something, do it. That could be your start right there. Wherever I go, church, I always have on me some type of material that I can give to people. And every week I'm out there, something comes up. I don't care if you're in a store or whatever. I've given out a lot of things in the store. I'm reaching for my cards now. I always have some cards on me. And I'm thinking about all the cards and stuff I've given out to people. Just from standing in a store or whatever, something comes up and you strike a conversation and you say, oh yeah, I'd like to give you a card here of the congregation that I attend. And we got a website and you can look at that and you can learn some things. I've just passed out so many of these. But just to be on call at all times. And if it leads to an agreement with someone where you can come to their house every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, great. If it leads to you just standing there like I have many times in the past and just have maybe a 10, maybe 15-minute conversation with somebody. You may not never see them again, but at least you gave them what they needed if they want to follow up to get back to you. So I would just encourage that everybody does that, because that's what I always do with the church up there. We have walked the streets. We try to keep that going as best as can. We have had a mass mailing to get people to respond. We have had, because of that now, and when we mail the internet stuff out, a lot of people have logged in, and they have been with us mostly on the Tuesday night class, mostly. They have logged in. People that are not members of the church have logged in. We have gotten some letters that are not so appreciated, but we've gotten some letters where some people have said, I listened to you and I saw this and thank you, So we just try to keep, it's like fishing. We just try to keep the lines out there. There is no magic wand. You just hope that if you keep enough lines out there, that something will bite sooner or later. So we don't want to get to the point where we're not doing anything. If we get to that point, we can look back, and I ask the members sometime to judge themselves on this. Look back over the last month. You had 31 days. What did you do in the past 31 days to turn someone's attention to the congregation where you worship? What have you done? Have you done anything? See, and we don't want to get to the point where we do stuff like that. So that's why I say printed material is the best thing you can carry. It'll speak where you can't speak. And it doesn't take much. I've done it in airports and everywhere. Sitting down at a restaurant or something. I was having a nice conversation with one of the waitresses. And we were sitting there, and I said, hey, look. Because I said, you seem to be a very intelligent person. I want to give you, took the card out. Church, I'm so happy with these cards. I said, here, just take this. I says, I'd like for you to go to our website and check us out, And, if you get any questions, call us back. She thanked me for it, and she took it. So, we try to reach out in that manner. So whether you're walking the streets with stuff in your hand, church, I like to walk the streets. I don't like to just sit in a chair. Some of the people, I'm not knocking sitting in chairs. I just don't like that. They go out in the streets and they take the material. Jehovah's Witnesses do this a lot too. And they sit in a park and wait for people to come by. That's fine. That's fine if you want to do that. I don't want to do that. When I'm out there, I said, look, let's get a handful of this stuff. Let's go down here. Let's go down here. And we just go. We just go. Because I like to keep moving. But there have been festivals and stuff in the past where tables have been set up because people will bring their, whether they're making crafts or whatever. And if you are some organization and you want to let people know about you, you can set up, pay for the space, set a table up. And these craft shows that they have in the East Coast, on Saturdays, a lot of people come by, and they'll see your stuff, and they'll take whatever you have there and move on. So things like that. We try to keep moving with those types of things. But just the main thing, no matter what we do, you just don't want to be sitting down not doing nothing. And yes, our location, a storefront church, has brought some people in. Didn't fire a shot at the person. There was a guy I was talking to, his name is Dave, and I'm really expecting him to come back. He came by on a Tuesday night. And I said, Dave, what brought you in tonight? He says, I was just walking by, and I saw you all were having Bible study, and I wanted to come in. I said, Dave, I love it. I love it. It's about a month ago. I said, I love it. I'm so glad you're in. Come on in. He came on in. He sat in the whole study. Talked with him a little bit. He says he lives in Cheltenham. So I encouraged him to come back. Gave him some things to read, and I said, do come back. And he says, I will. We had a family the same way. Very recently. They just moved to the area. They did the same thing. Checked us out, came on in. So sometime your building will do it for you. And I'm pretty sure you all know that here. You've had that happen here. I'm pretty sure you have. But like I said, once again, we don't want to just be vultures and jump all over a person and just eat them up alive when they walk in. Because I find a lot of people are afraid that's what's going to happen. If I go to that church, they're going to be all over me. No. Yes, we are interested in you, but we're not going to be all over you. Want to give you some space, Would like to know your name. Would like to be able to give you something to carry out of here with you and encourage you to come back again, So sometime the building will do it for you. So our goal is just to continue to keep doing this. Continue to keep pushing, trying to get the members to make it a regular thing to point somebody to the local church. Say or do something and let somebody know about the local church. The Northeast is not the Bible Belt. I guess that's why it's so difficult for us. But then again, nobody has a utopia. I think Tennessee is a great state for people that respect the Bible, but I wouldn't call it a utopia. But just some parts of the country are better when it comes to preaching the gospel than other parts. And Jesus had those same problems. He ran into places where he couldn't do much good. Paul and all the others. So we have the same thing. So I'd just like to encourage everybody to just do that, because that's what we're trying to do right now. Are there any questions anyone would like to know about trying to preach in the East? Any curiosities from anyone? Yes.
I'm going to show my ignorance now, but can you talk about the housing situation? In other words, how do the neighborhoods differ? Here, houses pretty much are kind of spaced. Got some distance between the houses, and in my mind, I guess I'm thinking Philadelphia is arranged differently.
Philadelphia is very different than San Antonio. In San Antonio, you get more bang for your buck, okay? The East Coast, the housing design is built upon the European style. Some of you may have visit European cities, like you go to Paris or London or those places over there, and they have, from one block to the other, they're all connected together. All from one block to the, and it's just over and over and over again. And then they have a second form of structure, which is called a twin house. And with a twin house, you get a little bit of land. A twin house is one structure, just like that. You slice it down the middle. Your neighbor is on this side, and then you're on the next side. And if you find a block like that, all the houses will be that way from one end to the other. They're not attached like what we call a row house. So that's a twin. And you get a little bit of yard, okay, on each side of the structure. Single houses. You do have a few single houses in Philadelphia. I would say percentage-wise, 70% of the city is row house. All right? Another maybe 15% is twin. And then the single houses like you see around here would make up the remaining amount. But those houses are usually found in the more affluent parts of town. Places like Chestnut Hill and Lafayette Hill. That's more affluent. And you would find some single homes similar to what you have here there. But for the most part, those cities up there, you have to be, the word compact together. That's how they're built. That's how it would be if you're in Paris or any of those other places. You wouldn't go out there and see a guy with a big old swimming pool in Paris and all like this. It wouldn't be that way. So they're all compassed together, packed in there. That way you get more people. The word I'm looking for, I guess, is density. The area becomes more dense. And that's how the building style was. But I tell you what, there is a good thing about that. If you are, for example, like passing out tracts or whatever, you could just work one block. Just one block. And you went to 50 houses. Think about that. And now think about if you're here in San Antonio and you want to leave a tract at 50 houses, think about how far you would have to go. You'd have to go a long way. Because since San Antonio has all these single houses, you'd have to probably walk a long way, drive a long way, just to get 50 houses. But up there, you could just say, I'm going to work this block, and I'm going to get these tracts into 50 houses here. So you just start at the end of the block and go all the way up. And maybe after 30 minutes, or after you've done that, you're done with that block. So in that sense, it's very easy to get all your material out. There were times in the past when we did that, and in one day you get a team together, you could get like maybe 300 houses, because that's how it was, depending on how long the block is. So in that sense, it's good. That way, if you're up there passing out stuff. But anyway, everybody up there who is a church, I can see that they are doing the best work that they can do so that whenever people come there, they can see a church. It may not look like where they're coming from, but they can at least see a church up there. And that's what I find that the brethren up there are trying to do. So I appreciate all those brethren up there. I certainly appreciate the ones that are in the better parts of the country who take an interest in parts of the country that are not that prosperous in that sense. But they take an interest and they're willing to support men who try to go and work those areas. So it's just encouraging in that respect. Are there any more comments on anything? Anything I might not have mentioned that you're curious about? Okay. Well, you know what? Once again, if you all are going, I'm going to say it again now, because I say it, you're going to go on some vacations, come on around. Come on around. I mean, it's, we have things you will like up there, especially if you like history. You can come up there and, go on your vacation and stuff. And then on Tuesday nights, you can come by the church building. Sunday, you can come by and, just try to come on around. And, see what we're trying to do up in that part of the country. All right? So we'll give it our best. As I said before, I wish I could tell you that we've baptized 3,000 people, but it just is not, baptism is not left up to us. We got to get out and do the work and hope for the best. All right, I thank you very much for listening, and I hope that I have somehow enlightened you a little bit on what we're trying to do up here. And as you can see, you were probably thinking as I was speaking was not much different than what we do here, and I'm pretty sure it's not. We just have the gospel, and we just try to make the best of it. Okay? So thank you very much then. Appreciate it.